Previously on Talking. In Season 4, Episode 4 of Myths and Monsters. The tension in town kept rising as an ominous discovery put Boyd and the people closest to him on high alert. Julie continued searching for a way to understand and control her newfound abilities, while Sarah was once again tormented by the voices in her head, with fear growing, secrets building, and everyone being pushed closer to the edge. The town was left bracing for whatever comes next as we head into Episode 5. What a long, strange trip it's been. Welcome to Talking, from the live podcast produced by Indy Radio, where we break down the mystery, the terror, and the twists of the hit TV series. Hosted by Jen and Kinte. This is the show where we review every shocking moment, every haunting question, and every chilling clue. And from strangers find themselves trapped in a mysterious town they cannot leave, forced to survive against deadly creatures that come out at night, while uncovering the dark secrets hidden all around them. You can watch from on MGM+. Get ready for live reactions, deep discussion, bold theories, and real talk about one of television's most unsettling shows. And now, here are your hosts, Jen and Kinte.
All right, welcome to an all-new episode of Talking From. And are we there yet? No, we're not. Are we closer? Maybe. Sorta. At least we know a little bit more? Question mark? I don't know. Every time From reveals something, it feels like it asks about 16 more questions. So who knows where we are? But let's talk about it. First, I would like to introduce my wonderful and phenomenal co-host, Kinte, who has been on this journey since the very beginning. Kinte, how are you?
I am doing great. I am so happy to be here and ready to talk some From. I feel like I'm ready, and hopefully nothing bursts through the walls like the Kool-Aid Man.
What do you think you learned from this episode?
What I learned from this episode is that Jade has died several times in different forms. And I've learned that the man in yellow is a devious person who likes to see chaos. And I also learned that if you see a rope going into a lake, don't tug at it.
Yeah, I would say that is sage advice, to be honest. I loved Donna's epiphany that what if whatever is in the water isn't meant to be found and they're scarecrows. Of course, that's not actually what they were. But it was still good. Like, I just loved it. I loved the way Donna was like, we got to get these things back in the water.
Mm-hmm.
Why do you think she did that? Why do you think she wanted? Well, why do you think she was like so adamant that they put it into the water, that they put them back into the water?
Well, scarecrows are usually meant to scare crows from a cornfield, and so they're used as like a protective, something to protect. And I'm thinking she's thinking, well, maybe that's what it is. It's to keep something from the lake from coming out to the public. So let's get these back in, because that's what the purpose of a scarecrow is.
Have any of Donna's theories ever been right?
I don't know. That's a good question. I got to think about that.
I can't decide myself whether I trust Donna. Like I flip flop back and forth and back and forth. I can't decide whether I trust her or whether I think that she is some kind of plant. Um, it's just hard for me to be able to tell. Um, I mean, we know that they're. That, I guess I shouldn't say we know. We theorize that the man in yellow has probably already been in the town a couple of times, dressed as other people, and that I don't know. I mean, to me, there's just something sort of like you just don't know who to trust. But there's a part of me that thinks that the Donna theory that Donna is, not who she says she is and whatever, is just too easy. Like it just I can't imagine that the show would just guide us in that direction because it just feels too easy. Um, but what did you think about Tabitha and her memory? I guess is maybe the best way to say it. But I guess here this is not my problem, but this is my like big peak question for this episode. If they threw little dolls into the lake, why did they turn so huge?
The water has made it swell. I don't know. Like a chia pet.
The water
Like a chia
wow,
pet.
wow, that's a heck of a water retention problem you got there, buddy.
It's like a chia pet,
Damn.
Add water and it grows.
Somebody needs to take some Diurex or something. That okay, so this is what I think, and I don't know if this is right or wrong, but to me, this feels metaphor related. The dolls are larger than life. That's my I feel like there is something to this where everything is being blown up into something bigger than it originally was. I don't know why that would be, but it's such a weird thing. Also, how did she remember how to hurt them? Like we didn't get any context for that whatsoever.
I, it's one of those because the script say so.
Because the script says so.
It's funny. Right at the right time, it's like, oh yeah, I remember. I just remembered how to kill him. It's like, which is pretty much the way you kill anything.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's true. That's true. Um, you have to wonder if part of what Tabitha is uncovering in her memories has something to do with Jade uncovering the things he's uncovering in his memories, because it seems like the two of them have epiphanies together, right? Like
Right.
not connected, but just simultaneously.
Right. Yeah. It did feel like they were kind of on that same track.
So I guess, rather than going in sequential order, let's just talk about the characters for a second. So we didn't really see a lot of many of the characters, although the ones that we did focus on
No
definitely
Elgin.
gave us a lot of clues. Yeah, definitely gave us a lot of clues. Also, just as a side note about the whole scarecrow doll thing, Elgin really stepped up. Not Elgin, I'm sorry. Ellis really stepped up. I've done that twice now. I'm sorry. And was absolutely like heroic. I don't know if I could have. I don't know. I feel like my sanity would have just melted away if I saw giant scarecrows running around. I don't know how I would have reacted, but man, he just took charge.
He did, but then again, he did leave the Asian guy to die.
That's true.
But he tried to help him, and then he was like, "All right, I'm out."
Yeah, I wonder. I kind of wonder if maybe that was sacrificing the one for the many.
I think it was more self-preservation.
Yeah. Okay. I suppose you could look at it that way.
And I don't know. I don't know if we said this on air, but the minute we saw him last week, and then it's definitely this episode,
Yeah.
it was pretty obvious that he was about to go. And like you, I think you said it. These two characters, you might as well put a red shirts on there.
They are definitely red shirt material.
Yeah.
Agreed. I think that narratively, we know that that's not the Lake of Tears. I mean, it made them cry, but it's not the Lake of Tears.
Right. That's what I was about to say. It's a lake of tears, but just not in that way.
It's not the Lake of Tears. And we
Because
saw
of the bird,
Ethan,
right?
right, because the bird died, so it's clearly not the Lake of Tears because it didn't heal anybody. In
You know what
fact,
it is?
the opposite.
It's the lake of fears.
It's a Lake of Fears. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, there's a good band called Tears for Fears. Maybe that's it.
Mhm.
I saw somebody's pretty interesting theory about a book series that this might be based off of. And I'm not gonna get into that because I don't really want to go like down that. It I don't know, that it feels like there's an awful lot to that may or may not be connected. But it is interesting that there are a lot of parallels in From with a lot of both folklore and sort of stories that we may have heard. And I'm super interested to hear, because this is of it's of a complicated, both psychological but spiritual idea. The idea of Christianity and demons and things like that could be sort of all put together and fit into one bubble does not necessarily fit into the box of reincarnation and multiple lives. And it's funny to see, funny, not ha ha, but funny in a sort of like off-putting way to see them try to put these two ideas together. I think they're doing a good job, but it's really interesting to watch how that is unfolding. I have to ask you, what do you think about the way that From is sort of moving in the direction of, we saw Jade, we saw he had this moment where he realized that the creatures had not killed him, the townspeople had killed him. And that's how he died each and every time. And those reincarnations of him, those past lives that he has lived, they all sort of tell a different story to him. But what do you think about that? Because sometimes I think that From is trying to, make us think that this is way more Judeo-Christian, and then they'll throw something in that just makes me go, no way, this is not, this is totally just supernatural. So I wanted to get your theory. Where are you on all of that?
First of all, to get killed with a railroad spike in your eye is pretty.
Eesh.
It's pretty bad. So,
And to hear him say Tabitha has it worse is, what's worse? Damn.
yeah, that was pretty epic. It just shows that there was, what was that saying? Knowledge comes at a cost, I believe.
Yeah, knowledge comes at a cost.
And it shows, once you get that knowledge, it definitely comes at a cost. You become fodder, and whatever entity that's there, it doesn't want to be found, right? So therefore, it puts you in danger. So, and it does it in a way where it's not even the creatures that get you, it's the people, because then they start having mistrust when it comes to you.
Well, right, and we know that the man in yellow, aka Sophia, has said on numerous occasions, this is my favorite part, taking gleeful joy in watching the suffering of other people. And it does seem like that is where they are headed. They're trying to manifest that. But it brings up a really interesting point that I think is just worthy of a little bit of discussion, in that this idea that manifesting what you want, and Jade did it when he was on the mushroom trip. He said, "Oh, I have to set the stage for the right question." That's like manifesting the tone, the correct. Okay, what is my question? And then he realized that the question was too sort of specific, and that he needed. Oh, I'm sorry, not it was too broad, and he needed to get more specific. And when he did, that's when his younger self appeared, and that's when he went on sort of the journey with his younger self. And Boyd in tow, although Boyd was definitely never in tow because Jade had never left the chair. Um, there's something interesting about this idea of manifesting, that is, believing that something is true makes it true. And we saw that last episode with Sarah and Sophia, with the interaction that Sophia was like, okay, if you don't do this, here's what's going to happen. That idea that if I believe it's true, seems to be what is cycling through all of these stories. Julie with the story walking, Boyd trying to get a handle on all the things that he's trying to get a handle on. Uh, it just sort of even Fatima building the golem, believing that it is going to somehow be a protector. These things are all interesting ideas that the characters somehow believe that they are changing their own destiny. Where are you on some of those like more ideological pieces to the story?
Well, the way I think of it is in the past lives, I
Mhm.
believe they thought they were doing the same. So I'm not sure. Are we witnessing the change that breaks everything up, or we're just seeing a repeating pattern? I'm not quite sure. There's times where I believe that okay, we're witnessing when everything changes and everything's broken up. But then there's a part of me that feels like no, this is just gonna go back to it's just playing out what has already happened before, and I'm not quite sure. It just seems like they seem to be aware of what went wrong in the past. So I don't know if every little change, you know, sets it up to where eventually things can be end up different. But I'm not quite sure.
Isn't don't you think that that is sort of like the man in yellow's prerogative? Their prerogative is to, despite whatever they're learning, to thwart it in a way that is there is no hope. And we got that with we got that in this episode in numerous places. We got it in the ambulance where, there's something ancient and things are terrible. But then we also got sort of the counterbalance to that, which is Christy saying, "Hey, I've seen this happen before. This isn't like she's so pragmatic. It's not even funny. I don't know where her place in the story is, but Christy and Kenny remind me of the same kind of character on a different side of the coin. They're both extremely pragmatic, and their superpower is to be able to see past things, not past as in like in the past, but like beyond things, because they accept so much more than other people, right? Do you know what I'm saying? Like they don't seem to be the people who get depressed as often. They deal with it and then they move on. Does that make sense?
No, it makes perfect sense. Yeah.
So when they are experiencing things, they're experiencing things and they're going, okay, well now we got to move on from this. What are we going to do? And the whole idea for me here is that a lot of the characters are expressing that very hopelessness that I think Sophia is trying to bring about. Not because Sophia wants them to be sad, but because that hopelessness leads to that recklessness, that sense of we have to do to coin the song at the very beginning of From, we got to get out of this place if it's the last thing we ever do.
Right.
Like it just becomes that fever pitch, so that all the man in yellow has to do is, swoop in at the end and eat a couple livers, and off he goes. He's happy. We know that the massacre at the beginning of From was actually the first one that we see, it was the townspeople killing themselves. They were going crazy. It wasn't the creatures that killed them. The creatures just came in afterwards and were like, yeah, okay, here's what we got. That feels pretty pivotal. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, definitely.
So just in terms of what also happened in this, it was a scary episode. It was scary. I don't know if it was the hype scary that I thought it was gonna be. Like, I thought it was gonna be way scarier. But it was scary. I think the characters felt a kind of dread that, definitely made me think, oh man, the stakes are getting higher and higher here. But I don't know. What did you think? Were you, do you feel like this was like the super scary episode, or what do you think?
No, I thought the ending, that was some terrifying imagery, and it was pretty scary. But overall, I don't think the episode was necessarily overall scary, but the ending definitely that had a big punch, and they did a good job there.
Describe the ending for us.
Oh, the Kool-Aid Man ending.
Oh, you mean with the scarecrows?
Scarecrows, yeah.
Okay.
Oh, do you want to go there now?
Yeah. Let's talk about that a little bit.
Okay, well, let's do it.
So we know that Tabitha, that the reason. Okay, so I guess this is kind of complicated, but the reason that the dolls were in the lake is because Tabitha, basically, somebody threw those dolls in the lake. They used to belong to Tabitha, or Tabitha played with them. When they pull them out of the lake, obviously they're gigantic and enormous. And Donna seems to think that the best thing to do is fill them with stones and put them back in the lake, because what if they were keeping something from within the lake from getting out again? Now, the part to me that is a little bit convoluted, which I don't actually understand, is what was it just that they had pulled them from the lake and that's what made them come alive? Or was it something else? Or was it Julie's remembrance of them that made them come alive? What do you think?
I think it's Julie's remembrance. I believe that is what made them come alive. And then it was like that realization made it like, oh God, this is what's going on,
That I did too. That's the first thing that I thought. And again, it fits in with that narrative of when they believe something, it seems to happen. And this goes back to Abby. Abby was like, if we kill everybody, we'll leave, because there won't be anybody left to believe. The lies will be all gone. I'm starting to understand, which I didn't really before, where Abby was coming from, because she wasn't just saying, we have to kill everybody for their own good. No, it was, this is going to keep going on and on and on until everybody can believe the same thing. And that obviously is never going to happen. It's quite an interesting idea. So the scarecrows come alive. They're inside of the cabin. They grab, I don't even remember his name, but they grab the guy, and everybody else scatters out the back door. We see Ellis go back in, tries to save him, doesn't. It's not going to work, clearly. And in the scuffle, I don't know, man, they just got a thing for like grabbing those livers, don't they? The first thing I thought was that the scarecrow is putting his hand down the guy's body to get his liver. I don't know what's going on with that, but that's what I thought. What did you think?
I know. I thought he was just. I mean, I didn't think of it like in that regard. I thought of it as that he was just ripping him out. I didn't think about. I didn't even think about the whole grabbing his liver thing. Maybe I should have.
It's just such a theme that now I'm seeing it everywhere. Maybe I shouldn't, but it just feels like such a theme at this point. And Donna, this is the closest I've ever seen Donna to being in danger. I've never seen Donna in any peril, really. I mean, she's been scared and there's been things sort of chasing them all, but I've never seen her actually on the receiving end of a creature attack. I actually was kind of surprised by that. What about you?
Yeah, you said that. You said that. That Don, I never even thought about it until you said something, and then she was definitely in trouble this time. Honestly, there was a part of me that thought possibly she may get it,
Ooh.
just because because I'm figuring, well, somebody other than the red shirts probably got to go, right? So, but then then I was like, then I thought about it as it was happening. I was like, she ain't going nowhere,
No.
So
I don't think we're not ready for that. Whatever this is, whatever that is, we're not ready for that.
yeah,
Maybe
so
maybe in the finale, somebody else will die. I don't know, but the part about the scarecrows that made me the most that gave me the most question, other than how did they get so big, which is crazy, is this idea that they were targeting them, like they clearly they were creatures. They were creatures, right? Because we saw their mouth with the many rows of teeth. Like
right.
that's the creature look. So something about that was, I don't know. I guess I'm just mentioning it because it felt like they were absolutely creatures, and it sort of also makes me think, yeah, they definitely have that that relationship with whatever else is going on here. But the thing that then sort of gives me pause is, so not Julie, Tabitha is able to spear one of them with the other scarecrow, the other kind of like, talisman sort of thingy. And she says, I just remembered how to do it. And then this one that's on the screen, the scarecrow that they set on fire, she starts walking over and turns away. So why do you think that scarecrow just turned away?
Maybe because, well, I mean, I don't think it was because they were on fire. I don't believe that was
I don't think
it.
so either.
Maybe because one was killed and she remembered how to defeat it. So the other one got away because of that, possibly.
We have seen time and time and time again that the creatures in From, their purpose is to scare people. I mean, that is their purpose.
Mm-hmm.
And there's something about what happened here with Julie, I keep saying that, with Tabitha, that makes me think that this is more about scaring them than it is about anything else. Like, I mean, R.I.P. dude, red shirt dude, but it really wasn't about that. It really was about scaring them, making them. Julie, again, Tabitha had this memory. The memory brought the things to life because knowledge has a cost, and the continuation of that is, okay, Now, once she realized that she actually had agency over that memory, it didn't have any power over the creatures anymore. So off they went. Because Julie, again, Tabitha wasn't scared anymore. And the purpose was defeated, right? Do you know what I mean when I say that?
Oh yeah, for sure.
So that's sort of the way that I was envisioning the whole thing. Um, I have to say that one of the things that made me feel really sad in this whole thing is I can't imagine Ethan, this kid who we just saw bury a bird and say, "I'm sorry that we couldn't save you," and then basically has to deal with giant scarecrows coming to life to eviscerate him. That is just absolutely crazy in any world. I don't care what world you're from. I mean, I feel so bad for Ethan sometimes. Um, let's hop over to Jade. Tell me what you thought about his trip altogether. I mean, we talked a little bit about his recollection and his past lives kind of thing. But what did you think about that whole thing and the fact that his inner child was guiding him? What were your ideas about that?
I'll be honest with you, it was a little disappointing. I don't know. I thought it was going to be a little bit better, the whole thing. But I mean, I guess it was okay, but it wasn't like super great.
Better how? Like better you were thinking
I
there
think
was
it
going
was
to
going to
be
be
more
more
answers?
entertaining.
Oh,
I thought it was going to be more entertaining. The the whole trip and everything. I mean, like I guess it was okay, but it wasn't quite what I was hoping for. I don't even know what I was hoping for. The ending, once again, though, uh, the ending was pretty cool.
I
You know,
think I think him discovering the tunnels under Colony House is something that he can definitely go now and verify,
hmm
right? Um, and that really might mean something bigger than what we think it means, but because he thinks he realizes now how to save the kids.
right,
I I I feel like this is still he's still asking the wrong questions. Saving the kids is not the way they're going to get out of this place. I know that. Like deep in my bones, I know that it's not about saving the kids. It's about saving themselves. The kids are like the reason that they're there, but it's not the way that they're going to escape. That nobody is going to save the kids. That was done already. The pact was made. Do you know what I'm saying?
right. No, yeah, you're right.
So that I don't think we're going anywhere with that. But they keep thinking that if they save the kids, that that's some kind of like from Deus Ex Machina, like this is the way we're going to get out of here. And I just you can just tell that that's not the way that it's going to be. Um, but but good on Jade for there's a huge difference, so I've been told. There's a huge difference between dropping acid and being on mushrooms, having psilocybin. It is a totally different experience. Mushrooms are very mild, and generally tend to, create a very interesting, but usually, fairly mild, just in terms of your whatever it is you're experiencing. Acid is way, way, way more hardcore. And so whatever Miranda was on with acid probably was 1,000 times more intense than what we see Jade experiencing. But Jade got just enough information, I think, to move in a different direction, to move in a direction of, okay, there's something in the tunnels, it does matter, there is something there. I don't think they're going to save the kids, but something matters there. So I mean, that was good. I do feel like that was important. But yeah, there is a part of me that thinks that maybe Jade and Tabitha are also one of the um, sacrificed kids. And maybe there's more. Maybe there are more sacrificed kids that we don't know of. Because why would they bury him in that sarcophagus thing?
Yeah, what was that about? Yeah, what's your take on that?
I, I mean, honestly, honestly, I'm just throwing out guesses here, so who knows? But the way that I think about it is they, Jade and Tabitha both, it's not just that they were like the parents of the kids. They have some kind of deeper connection. They sacrificed themselves at one point, or this was a part of the original bargain. Whatever that sort of is, it's clear that the creatures, they could have ripped him to shreds in his hallucination. They could have ripped him to shreds, and they didn't. They
No,
buried him.
yeah.
You know what I mean? Like it.
Mm-hmm.
It feels purposeful. It feels very purposeful. I'm always glad to see. I know we're going to see Smiley again. I mean, obviously, we got that foreshadowing from Fatima when she says, "I know I'm going to look out the window, and I know I'm going to see him there." I feel like that was the brightest foreshadowing we could ever get. But I'm always sort of oddly happy to see the milkman and the 1950s lady, and because there is something super interesting about them always dressing the same, about them always having, like, there's, you can always rely on the fact that the creatures are going to be in part made up of those guys. I don't know why it just sort of makes me feel like, oh yeah, the creatures have continuity too. It's not just a free for all. So okay, so just in terms of what you thought about Jade's inner child kind of guiding him to where he needs to go, why do you think that was? Or do you have any ideas?
I think that if you notice, a lot of people on this show, it all goes back to their childhood. You know,
Yeah.
I just think that's what it is. That it all connects. You know what I mean?
The fact that the monsters seem incredibly drawn to kids, yeah, that it definitely speaks volumes. But also, I think for Jade in particular, he doesn't listen to anybody other than himself, right? So only his inner child could tell him anything, because he can't hear when anybody else is talking to him or, saying something. I think that's the reason that even though Boyd was on the trip with him, Boyd really couldn't get through to him at any point, because Jade doesn't listen to Boyd. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Jade's only, or primary, I should say, way of learning information is, did it come from him? Did he learn it? Like, he learned the musical notes. He learned the all of these little connections. He learned all of the stuff. And I think that's why it was him guiding him, because that's all he can hear. He can't hear anybody else. Otherwise, maybe it would have been, somebody, I don't know, the boy in white. Who knows?
Right.
I have my own theories about the boy in white now. Not really sure where to go with that, but I have different theories now because of what we just saw with Jade. So let's sort of hop to what was happening with I'm sorry, I forgot her name, Marcella, and Christy in the clinic. Obviously, we know that Sophia is trying very hard to manipulate the two of them, but what do you think was behind that, other than, I need to make people, I have to accelerate this in some way? What do you think is actually behind that whole thing?
I'm sorry, say that again. You kind of cut
So,
out for me.
so Marcella's and Christy, they're in the clinic,
Mhm.
and Christy sends her out to go grab the splint, and that's when the radio comes on, and she imagines that she is chained the same way that she was chained in the cave in the well house, and it's terrifying. It's absolutely terrifying, and it takes her a while to kind of get her composure back, and that happens when Christy intervenes. But when they go in and Sophia touches her, of course it happens all over again. And what I'm trying to piece together is, what do you think is behind that? Or do you think there's anything behind that other than he's just trying to create chaos?
Oh, it's straight up chaos. I believe that's what it is. It's just that's his way of creating chaos, and he knows what buttons to push.
Do you think that this has a little bit to do with this idea about like why he targets Sarah? Like he seems to be targeting the weakest of them all. He's not targeting Christy. Christy is too pragmatic. Christy doesn't experience the Fromville the same way that other people do, because she, like I said, she's just extremely pragmatic. Same thing with Kenny. I think Sophia already knows that Kenny isn't going to necessarily jump all in on stuff, but Sarah will. And now she has Marcellus. So it seems to me like they're looking, or Sophia is looking for the weakest to create the most chaos. I have this like strong feeling that it's one of the reasons that when Boyd's wife was doing what they were doing, it was not an accident that Boyd was the one that basically only Boyd could have taken her out. Only Boyd could have done that. Nobody else could have. But that feel again, this sort of all comes back to who is the weakest, and how do you get rid of I shouldn't say how do you get rid of, how do you sort of congeal in the center all of this hopelessness and sadness and misery so that you can take advantage of it, right? Does that make sense? I'm kind of struggling with the idea that I'm trying to get forward here, but I really think that Sophia, aka the Man in Yellow, is definitely, there's a strategy here. I don't think it's just willy-nilly. I'm just, that this is just going to be, kind of a free-for-all. I really think that there's a strategy here based on...
No, it's not random at all.
And part of it, I think, is all those observations that they've been able to make of all of these characters, because I am 1,000% sure that the Man in Yellow has been in the town in different either guises or just sort of hidden in plain sight, and we didn't know about it or we didn't suspect it. Do you
believe that at some point they're gonna show us the times that the Man in Yellow was there and we didn't know?
I hope so, because that would help sew things together, but I guess it's going to depend on how they want to end the story. Because if they want to end it on a nebulous note, then no, maybe we'll never know. But if they want to give us closure, then yeah, of course, I think that they would.
It may be one of those things where we're going to just be going back and trying to figure out, when he was there.
Right. I've seen screenshots of people that have, swore that the Man in Yellow was actually already in the town on a number of different occasions, trying to like create doubt in certain situations. I even heard...
You think he's been killed as somebody?
Well, what about Tilly?
I don't know.
That was one of the theories that I heard, was that the Man in Yellow was actually Tilly from... when they were inside of Colony House, because they were the ones who were like causing, like on the one hand being supportive, but on the other hand being extremely devious.
Right.
And I wonder if that might not be that certainly seems like the kind of character, the kind of person that the man in yellow would inhabit. Do you know what I mean?
Right. Do you think there's any rules to what the man in yellow can and can't do?
I do think that there are
I hope so.
rules. I think that there are rules, and that's why we are not seeing the more widespread, hey, let me just expose myself to you. I mean, sorry to say it that way, but let me just show you who I am, and everybody will be scared and run around like chickens with their heads cut off. Because that hasn't been established. And I think the last thing that the man in yellow wants is for everybody in the town to rise up against him instead of rising up against each other.
Right.
And that's a thin line. That's a careful line that they are going to have to draw.
Wow.
Because who's to say once the chaos starts, especially if they make enough correlations going forward, which can only happen probably from Julie, who's to say that once they figure that out, that it's not going to be, that they're going to all try to kill him, and then everybody suspects everybody else. Like that's sort of what I take from it. Like everybody starts suspecting everybody else is the man in yellow, and that's why everybody gets killed.
Because they don't even know about the man in yellow really at all yet.
Victor knows, Boyd knows, Donna knows, Ellis knows, Tabitha knows, Victor's dad knows, and I don't think Ethan knows, but Julie knows because Julie saw him.
Right.
So they're the ones who would know what that form is, but nobody knows that that's the form that he took the Sophia form to come into town. But like Victor said, he came into town like everybody else at one point, and we just thought that he was one of the people. We didn't know. So he wasn't hiding at that point. Victor knows that. I think that's why he can't come in as himself, because Victor would recognize. You know what I mean?
Right.
And Victor's the only, which is really surprising. Victor is the only person in From that could possibly know that, like a longer history of what has happened. I mean, ever since 1970s. But if we are paying attention to the story that just happened in this episode, then we know that this story has been unfolding for a very long time, right? Because the Civil War character is, and I'm sure that there might even be more, but the Civil War character certainly is an older character. And, before I forget, one of the things that I found so incredibly symbolic was Jade drinking the blood from the skull.
Right.
That was such a crazy symbolic moment. Not only was he like embracing the memories of what was happening or has happened, it was also this sort of like leap of faith that he had to make in order to get him to the next level. I liked that. This is one of the reasons that I really like From. There's all of these little moments that just make you go. So I know I've done a lot of talking this episode. I'm so sorry, but I would love to. I'd love to hear from you about how you feel, both overall as sort of like where we are in the story and what you think the story needs to do to advance us. Because at least in this episode, I didn't get the feeling that I had so many questions as I usually have. But I also, for as much as happened, didn't feel like I got a ton of answers either. I mean, it was scary. It set a tone. But it didn't give me the answers that I thought that maybe it might give me. So where are you on all of this?
honestly, I, I don't know if there's cause for concern necessarily yet about where we're, you know, are we going to get what we're hoping for, you know?
Mm.
Um, but I'll say this: I I'm not sure. I don't know that we're going to get what we are looking for in this season. I think they may be keeping their cards way close to their vest for the final season.
Yeah,
It may
I
be the
think
final
you're
few
right.
episodes where we really get a jump.
Yeah, I think you're right. I actually don't think that I think that this season, as weird as it sounds, is just setting up next season.
I
Like,
think so.
there's so much that they have to lay groundwork for in order to have things make sense that you almost can't get through. There's plenty of times in storytelling. I don't know if any of you all out there have ever seen the Dramatica theory of storytelling, but it's enormous, and it builds worlds based on different psychological principles and then different ideas in terms of where your characters are in time and space. It's a huge storytelling theory. And when I think about adding from into the Dramatica grid, there are certain times when it is pretty clear that we are like clearing the levels so that we can get to where we need to get. But there's plenty of times in storytelling when you can take shortcuts, when you can, kind of move things around to advance the narrative, and then you can catch up with them later. In fact, George Martin is probably the master of this. Something happens and it's huge and it's eventful, and then he circles back to it later by talking about something that somebody read in a book, or something that sort of like ties some threads together in terms of heritage or houses or whatever. And things will make sense, but you get the big, bold event, and that's what kind of carries you forward. From is definitely told very differently, where we don't have that kind of bold event storytelling. We have little things that keep us moving forward, and tons and tons and tons of questions. Like, one of the questions that I have from this episode specifically is spiders. Again, spiders.
Cicada
Why?
spiders, yeah.
Hmm.
What the hell? Yeah.
And spiders don't generally live underground. I mean, I'm just throwing that out there. Cicadas, yes, but spiders, no. Um, and the idea that at the very beginning of Knowledge is Dangerous, and Jade is covered with spiders before he even starts to experience anything or is just experiencing it, is sort of, I feel like this is like, so like we keep seeing the same patterns over and over and over again, and it's almost like we are in from, because we are not catching whatever it is that the storytellers are asking us to catch. And I don't think it's because we're dumb, and I don't think it's because we can't figure it out. It's purposeful obfuscation, but it's done in such an interesting way that, see, you're not getting same thing over and over and over again. See, you're not getting it, just like they're not getting it. And I mean, I don't think we necessarily can get it, but it's just such an interesting parallel that we are basically on the same journey as they are, right? Does that, you know what I'm saying when I say that?
Yeah, no. Yeah, you make perfect sense. Yeah.
And the idea with Jade that his revelation, if you will, and also Tabitha's, that somehow they have an idea of how to move forward. I suddenly remembered how to kill the creatures. That seems pretty important. Like, maybe there's something more to Tabitha being able to figure out how to kill the creatures than we even understand. Like, that feels important. But Jade's idea that, oh my gosh, I know what to do, I wouldn't put any stock in that at all. If you do, I've got, a bridge in Brooklyn to sell you, because we already know that has been gone over again and again and again, and it's not going anywhere. But he thinks it is. He thinks that's where it's going to go. As an episode, like just in terms of where we are, what would you give this episode as a rating? Just in terms of all the episodes that we've had in season 4.
I would say it's probably the third best episode of the
Yeah.
season.
What do you think is the first best episode?
Maybe the second one,
Hmm.
then the first, and then this one. Probably about
That's an
like that.
I'm sort of right there with you. I liked this episode. I wanted to like it more, but I think still a little bit confused about what the story is trying to tell us. What do you what do you think? What do you think about Boyd just sort of like being there for Jade in the chair for several hours, and like, did he just not interact with Jade?
Yeah, I thought that was pretty cool. Yeah, but I wasn't surprised though. I was calling it that he didn't go anywhere. Like, so when he snapped out of it, I wasn't. I had been calling it. He's not. He hasn't gone anywhere.
Also, you want to know what was crazy? When Jade first looked out the window, he saw the vacancy sign, and it doesn't say no vacancy; it said vacancy. And what happened in this episode? Somebody died.
Right.
So there's vacancy.
Right.
Like little touches like that were kind of fun, but okay. I mean, thanks for calling that out, but they didn't really give us any answers.
Right. No.
So, like, I like these things, but also it's kind of a pain. Just because we just keep getting led down the same paths over and over again. Well, I did enjoy this episode. I wish it would have been more. What are your closing thoughts?
Meaty. You wish it was more meaty?
Yeah, I wish it was more meaty.
Yeah. But you know what? I'm starting to expect this, from the show. Like, I don't expect it to, like I said, I don't think until the final season we're gonna really get it. So, I guess we just have to just hang on in there, and hopefully, it will live up to what we're hoping.
I think there's a method to the madness. But I also think that this is extremely unconventional storytelling. And as such, we have to be ready for unconventional explanations and unconventional endings.
Right.
So I do think you're right. I don't think that I think at large, the fan base, for many people, they are going to exhale at the end of the series and go, is that it?
Right.
But I think for the people that have been invested in the show and are really paying attention, I don't mean this in a negative way. I just mean, not everybody, some people just like passive media. I think that there will be some answers that will be very, oh yeah, this was very satisfying. And then maybe some answers that won't be as satisfying. But I think it's going to be a mixed bag.
Yeah.
The one thing that I am still absolutely certain of is at the end of this season, we are going to end on a cataclysm. We are going to end on something truly horrifying happen. I don't know what. I want to guess that it is going to be some kind of massive flood or some event, something that fills up the Lake of Tears. That's why I think it's got to be something water related. So, well, here we are, episode 5, season 4. This is my prediction for the end of the season. It's going to be a flood. Do you have any predictions?
That we'll still be wanting.
Well,
right.
that sort of is the point, right? For the end of the season is to make us want to come back for the next season. So
Yeah. So how can we get you in social media? What we have?
Well, I guess I'll leave the introduction to pilot season cartoon edition to you, but we are really having a lot of fun on that podcast. And I really encourage everyone to join and listen to some of the very witty and kind of fun back and forth between some of these truly, even if you have never heard of them, they're really good. And if you have heard of them, trust me, you probably don't remember the very first episode. So it's been a lot of fun to go through that. You can also, hopefully this week, find me at Movies Make the Meal. I am trying to relaunch my website and get that back in order. And so how can we find you all over the place?
All right, you can get me at Kinte Ferguson. That's KinteFergerson. And that's on Instagram. Of course, as we said that on Wednesday at 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 Eastern, we'll have an all-new episode of Pilot Season Cartoon Edition, and we will be covering the pilot episode of the Transformers. So you definitely want to check that out. And also coming back for a special episode on Thursday at 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 Eastern, is Men and Women Talk to Mars Venus show, and we're having poetry night. So we're going to have people. This is our season premiere. The show actually's regular date is on Monday at 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 Eastern. But our premiere will be this Thursday at 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern. So I don't know, Jen, if you want to read some poetry, come on down. And we're going to have different people read poetry. It'll be an awesome night. A lot of people are excited about it too, so which is really cool. So we wanted to start we've been on a long hiatus for a while, and we wanted to come back with a bang. So we're doing poetry night. So that
sounds amazing.
Yeah. So with that said, we'll catch you next week for an all new episode.
I hear next week is also supposed to be scary, so cross your fingers and your toes, and let's hope we get something scary and advances the plot. We'll see you next time.
All right. Peace.
Thank you for listening to Season 4 of Talking From. Join us next time as we preview Episode 6, The Heart is a Lonely Hunter. Originally airing on May 24, 2026. In this next chapter, Boyd and Jade find themselves at odds over whether they can trust the knowledge in Jade's head, while deeply troubling news from the settlement makes its way back to town. The tension keeps rising, the mystery keeps deepening, and the road to answers looks more dangerous than ever. Be sure to tune in for the next conversation as we break it all down on Talking From. Season 4. Presented by Indy Radio.